What concept helped grow the fastest growing manufacturing company in the history of New York City? Yes, Manhattan, the New York City. In its history, the fastest growing manufacturing company. It's a Buddhist concept, and this concept helped this company grow to such a level that Warren Buffett purchased it for over $250 million. That's over $250 million. And it was started by three people, which eventually turned into a 10,000 person international company. Well, that is going to be the topic for today, and it is specifically karmic marketing. Now, that is a term I coined. The original phrase is called karmic management, and that was developed by my teacher, my Lama, whose name is Michael Roach. Now, Michael is a Geshe, and Geshe is, for the Buddhist tradition, a PhD of sorts. In other words, someone who studied Buddhism to such a degree, over 20 years in a monastery in Tibet, that they get the distinction of Geshe. Now, there are many traditions in Buddhism, and far more than I even know about or can teach, but I do know that the story started in the following way. Now, Michael, who is an American, he grew up in Arizona, went to Princeton University, and he was an honor student, and he was very, very good at language. And he knows multiple languages, and he thinks in those languages, feels in those languages, speaks those languages fluently, reads and is fluent in many languages. But while going to Princeton, he was an honor student, and one particular day, he found himself at a loss. He had lost his mother, his brother, and other people had died, all within a 3 to 4 month time frame, and he was just puzzled at why so much had happened in such a short time period. Well, there was another student of Indian descent, as in from India, who Michael had never met, but he asked him to meet him outside of the classroom, and then later that day, outside of the class, they both decided to go to India and find out why these deaths had happened and what happened to his family. And the intention was to study Buddhism and a spiritual tradition that Michael knew very little about. I think he was raised as a Catholic. So if you can see this, imagine a college student who's never played hooky from class ever, decides to go to India, meet a perfect stranger he met outside of the classroom, and when he lands in India, that Indian student was not there. He was nowhere to be found. Michael landed in India, and in the city that he landed, he happened to walk up to a taxi driver and asked, "Hey, I'm looking for some Buddhists here. Are there any Buddhists?" And the taxi driver looked at his watch and he said, "You're about 1,000 years too late." So there's Michael, honor student, now playing hooky from college, has had many losses in a very short time period. He's wondering what he's doing in India, and finally he's told that there are some Tibetan monks who happen to be near the city where he was, and he went and met with them. Well, it's a long story, but as it turns out, he ends up in one of the great monasteries in Tibet called Saramay, and he ended up studying not only Buddhism, but took on the practice of a monk and all the vows associated with monkhood, and for 20 years he studied and learned Buddhism to a level of taking his Geshe exams, which at the highest level, it's so much involvement. I mean, it's much more involved than becoming a doctor or getting a scientific degree of some kind. And over the years, he became, in my recollection, and as far as I know to be true, the first Westerner to become a Geshe Buddhist monk. And he came back to the U.S. and took on a Lama. In the Buddhist tradition, a Lama is the teacher. Like the Greeks called them magisters. We have priests, there are rabbis. In any spiritual tradition, in the Buddhist tradition, it's called a Lama. And the Lama is a very sacred relationship, kind of like mentor is to mentee in a business relationship. Very sacred, it's many times lifelong, and you have to find your Lama. You almost have to trick your Lama to become your Lama, because with your Lama, the Lama does not charge you to be a student, but you take care of the Lama. You clean their toilet. You wash their car. You do whatever it takes to add service, because the Lama is in many cases feeding you and sponsoring you to live. And so it so turns out that Michael's Lama is and was a very well-known Buddhist. In fact, he was arguably the highest living Buddhist authority at the time. Right there with the Dalai Lama. He was ousted from Tibet when the Chinese had invaded Tibet in the 1950s, and he was at the highest level at the Tantric College. I think he was an assistant abbot there, and he had won many debates over the years, and his name was Ken. That was his first name. His last name was Rinpoche, Ken Rinpoche, and he had family members who were also monks, and Ken and I believe his cousin walked over the Himalaya mountains, ended up in northern India, just like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, ended up surviving, and he fled, from the Chinese invasion, ended up in New Jersey, of all places, and the city is Howell, New Jersey, which is a little town in New Jersey, and Ken was his name, ended up finding, or they both found each other, Michael, and Michael started living with Ken, and Ken was Michael's Lama for, I believe, over 25 years. Well, as it turns out, Ken asked Michael to apply what he had learned in the monastery. The monastic life is taking vows, such as celibacy, and there are many vows that you need to take as a monk, of course, but a lot of it has to do with isolation and not being enculturated with the rest of humanity. And the purpose of Buddhism is enlightenment. The purpose of Buddhism is to become a Buddha. There's no such thing as omnipotence, like in Christianity, but there is omniscience. So there is all-knowing, there's just not all-control. So the goal is to become a Buddha, to be just like a Buddha, like the Buddha who lived 2,500 years ago in northern India, who was a prince. And there are supposedly many, many Buddhists in Buddha heaven, wherever that may be, in Buddha paradise. But the goal is to be enlightened, and through the cause and effect process of karma and the concept of emptiness, which I'll talk about in just a moment, Buddhists take refuge or safety in their practice. Now, in the very beginning, as a child, many people take refuge with their mother, right? So when there's danger, they flee to their mother or their father, whoever their parental figure is. Well, you can't be a Buddhist and not take refuge. You have to find refuge in something. So the reason I've mentioned these principles, this is not just about Buddhism, it's about a spiritual practice in general, and mostly it's about cause and effect and karma, which I'll get to in a moment. But what's most relevant is Ken asked his student, Michael, to go into business to see if these Buddhist principles would apply in business, because what could be further apart than business and Buddhism? I mean, they're very, very different. These days, many Tibetans who have left Tibet are great business people because of the way they think and their mindset and the way they've memorized and adopted belief systems. They're very, very strong business people. So, Buddhism isn't really flourishing as much in Tibet as it used to, but it is in the United States. And so Michael's goal has been to teach Americans about Buddhism and have them teach others and to be other people's lamas, and he's been doing this now for close to 30 years. I came across him through a mutual friend and through a book called Karmic Management. He is a best-selling author of, as far as I know, 3 books: The Diamond Cutter, which was his first book, Karmic Management, which is his second book, and then I believe his third book is called The Karma of Love. And the concept of karma is very, very important, because what transpired between what Michael was asked to do and what he actually did had a lot to do with karma, which is the sum of a person's actions deciding their ultimate fate. There's cause and effect. So there's always a sense of cause and effect where whatever cause that there is in your life, there's an effect that's going to happen later on, and karma takes time to ripen. So when you're planting seeds, like you would plant a seed like to an apple tree or a pear tree, or if you're planting seeds to a vegetable garden, it takes time for that to ripen, and karma is the same way. So there's always a delay between cause and effect. Otherwise, let's say if you killed a termite, your pinky would fall off, right? It would be a perfect world, but it's imperfect because of this delay. And so in this delay, that's why people take refuge, because there seems to be danger, because they don't understand the worldview of, okay, how is it that this irritating person is showing up in my life? I must have been irritating in one lifetime or sometime in my life for this to happen. There's always an effect to a cause, right? So that's what karma looks at, cause and effect. And the concept of emptiness, I have to mention, because this is the principle that Michael teaches. If you took this pen, now to me, I'm projecting this as a pen because that's what it looks like. That was the intended purpose as a human being living in the 21st century. Now, if a dog or a puppy looked at this pen, then that puppy or dog would look at this not as a pen to write with, because the dog doesn't know that reality. The dog's worldview is this thing is a chew toy, and it looks really good. Now, who's right? The dog or me? Well, according to Buddhism, we're both right, because this pen is empty. This is just a cylinder. And what's here is me perceiving it as a pen because that's what I think is its purpose. Now, you take a 13th century Eskimo, and this pen could be a very bad ice pick, you know, to pick away at an igloo. So the concept of emptiness is very important because if you look at an irritating person, then you can look at it from the point of view of that person is really empty. There's nothing in that person inherent. It's not coming from their point of view that they're irritating because someone loves that person. That's someone's daughter or son. That someone feels that person is good, and you don't think that person is good because they're irritating and they're showing up in your life. Why? Because of karma, Michael would say, because something you did was irritating to somebody else. So the cause that you planted as seeds has ripened into the effect of showing as a mirror to you who you are. And it's a training process. It's a self-awareness that you go through. So this is all about karmic marketing, which is about karma. It's an ancient tradition of cause and effect, and this is where quantum physics comes from. This is where relativity comes from. Cause and effect is not just spiritual, it's actual science. It's not only the why things happen, but it's how it happens. And science is very ironic because everything except for the start of the universe has a cause. They talk about the Big Bang, and you have astrophysicists who talk about the Big Bang theory, that something exploded, but what caused the Big Bang? So everything is explained in science as a how, except for the single most important fact in the history of the universe, which is the beginning of the universe. So there's a contradiction there, whereas Buddhism says there is no beginning or end, there is no root cause, right? But there are root lamas. And the root lama is the lama of lamas, and this was Ken Rinpoche, who told Michael Roach, which is his name, to go out into the business world. And Michael said, what business? I mean, I don't know business. I've been in a monastery most of my life, and I've been a student before that. And his lama and teacher said, well, go into diamonds. He says, diamonds? He says, I don't know a diamond from a golf ball. This is Michael's actual words, the way I heard them. And if you know something about the diamond business, it usually is a cartel or almost like mafia-like, you know, not in the act of violence, but it's very family-based. In New York City, the Hasidic Jews really own the diamond business in 47th Street and thereabouts. That's where I bought my diamond for the wedding ring, for my first and I think so far my only marriage. And that diamond was purchased right from, you know, that area in New York City. So Michael was asked to get into that community, which doesn't allow you to come in, not because they're Hasidic Jews, is because diamonds can be stolen and you can steal $2 million worth of inventory just in your hip pocket, and no one would know it. Now, there are diamond capitals throughout the world, right? There's diamonds are mined in South Africa and other parts, and then they're cut and they're polished in different parts of the world, from Belgium to the Netherlands and Denmark. You know, all over the world. And De Beers is the diamond cartel, which really controls the diamond market. But in this case, Michael was asked to, you know, go into this business, which, you know, he didn't comply originally, and then eventually he gave in. And together with two other people, they started a three-person company called Andine, and Andine eventually grew into a 10,000-person multinational corporation, which today is the fastest growing company or manufacturing company in the history of Manhattan and New York City, which is a mecca for business. And it was purchased, that company was purchased by Warren Buffett, of all people, for $250 million. Now, I'm going to teach you what Michael taught me he did to build the company so fast. And it has nothing to do with business as it does to do with caring. Now, before we talk about caring and compassion and appreciation, we have to talk about the 3 Ps: purpose, passion, and profit. So the purpose, at least in the spiritual world, is enlightenment. Okay? Well, the purpose for us as a company is caring, which appreciates other people. It's an act of appreciation to expand, right? Rather than using the word love, I like appreciation masquerading for the word love, because love is misunderstood. That's the difference between appreciation and depreciation, which is contraction. When something depreciates, it's love, it's fear-based, and it's contracting, right? So depreciation contract, appreciation expand. So always go back to our purpose. What's our purpose? Well, our purpose is to care for other customers, suppliers, the rest of the world, our team members. That's what I want our culture to be about. And then to be passionate about that is how that shows up. Purpose is the inner game, where you think to yourself, okay, if you have a bad day, let's go back to purpose. Am I fulfilling my purpose today? And if I have a bad day and I start caring for someone, I forget about my bad day because my focus turns from me to someone else. My passion is the way that shows up, and that's what we'll be talking about today. And then profit becomes automatic. Now, before those three P's comes another P, which is premise. Premise is, what are the assumptions I'm making about purpose, passion, and profit? And the assumption I'm making is there is a way on a daily basis to focus my passions on 4 different groups every single day. And if a company does that, it can grow just as fast as Michael's company did. And now he's lecturing the world. The money he made, he's donated to the Tibetan refugees, and also transcribing all the sacred text in Buddhism into a computer so that you can just look up things versus going through all the scrolls or the books. In Buddhism, there are thousands and thousands of books on the subject. Many of them have been burned during the Crusades in the Dark Ages and through the invasions of Tibet. But there's still many books alive and well, and they've been transcribed into a computer, and it's going to continue to be transcribed for the next 130 years, according to Michael. So the principles that, he didn't directly teach me, but I picked it up after reading a book, is that you go after 4 different groups within your business. Now, this is not about spirituality. We've talked about emptiness, we've talked about karma, we've talked about refuge. This is where karma works in our favor. This is where every one of these people are empty until we're projecting something positive on them and we're bringing meaning to it or purpose to it. And then this is where we find refuge, meaning safety, if we focus our talents on this every single day. And I'd like to recommend a minimum of 1, a maximum of 2 or 3. A minimum of 1, a maximum of 2 or 3. Now, what is that? Well, the first category of people are the customers. The next category of people, those are people who have purchased from us. Now, customers for us are going to be people who are high-end customers who have paid over $2,000 in the last year. So that's the group we're going to go after, okay? And I'll show you what we're going to do. Suppliers, those are people who supply us and who we've paid to supply us. That could be people such as Infusionsoft supplying our customer relationship management tools or iContact. It could be Site Builder Corporation supplying us with the web work. It could be consultants supplying us with advice. These are people we have physically paid to supply us. Now, if a person is a customer or a supplier, and we look at who do we categorize them as, we look at the one, in my world, who has more leverage. A customer has less leverage than a supplier. Why? Because a supplier has more leverage, they have more customers attached to them. So let's say we have a customer who's paid us $2,000, and that person is also a supplier that maybe we paid $1,000 to. I would put that person in the supplier category even though we paid less money to. That's the way I want to make sense of the world. The third area is the team, and the team is anyone who's working for us on our behalf, and that includes monthly payroll people and people who have coached for us. So they're working on our behalf. Our coaches are our team members. People who have represented us, like JV managers to other people, those are team members. Those are not suppliers. That's different. So if there's any distinction difficulty, we can discuss it in the Q&A session. But the fourth area is the world, which is everybody else. This can be people who don't land in the other 3 categories. We could have paid them. We could have given donations to them, like Kiva.org. Kiva is not a supplier. They're not a customer, right? They're not a team member. They're part of the world, and we've paid them money. Or it can be people we haven't paid, and they're just out there. Okay, the goal here and the culture I'm looking for now. The Dalai Lama, His Holiness, has cornered the market on compassion. Okay, that is in the Buddhist tradition, and for him, compassion is the thing. That he walks around the world and he speaks for, I think, in most cases for free, right, about compassion. Tony Hsieh of Zappos, his topic and his culture is about happiness. Zappos is all about happiness and customer service. What I really want Heritage House International to be about is caring. And I've brought this up again and again for other people, and I thought, why not us? Why can't caring be a competitive advantage? So I thought, okay, if we looked at the ABCs, now some people call the ABCs always be closing in a sale. Or for Larry Benet, a friend of mine, I told him ABCs is always be connecting because he's the connector. Well, ABCs for us and for our culture is always be caring. Any part of the day. The moment you start caring for another human being, you forget about your own worries. And so what this is going to be about when I show you the model, it's about intentional acts of caring. They're actions. Intentional. In other words, they're premeditated. And as far as karma is concerned, in the area of karma, when something is intentional, it's kind of like our court system. If it's intentional, it has more karmic capability. It has more karmic juice. Karma has juice. And when karma is forced upon us in the present, there's nothing we can do about it. When karma is determined from our past causes onto the present, and once it's in the present, there's nothing we can do. It's the future of karma that we can do something about. And with Buddhism, it believes in future lives, and so in looking at that spiritual tradition, if not in this life, then a future life, the karma can carry over. And negative karma can also have future life consequences, such as taking away a life, killing someone, or any other acts of infidelity, living outside of the realm of what is considered just and right. So those four areas to cover again: customers, which I like to call clients, but we'll call them customers for now; suppliers, team members, and then the world. So here's the way the karmic nest looks like. Now, in the middle of any karmic nest, and this is a model that I'm calling Karmic Marketing, but this is the Karmic Management Nest. In the middle here is little you. Now, you have the potential of being in this nest. A nest is something that a bird makes. A nest is also something that a relationship is. You're in a nested relationship. You know what that feels like. So in the middle, if you decide to create this nest, is you. Now, most companies will make their customers successful, right? So when you make your customers successful, guess what? Over time, they will make you successful. Now, the way karma works is you're planting seeds of success, but that doesn't mean the customer that you're planting the seeds with is going to make you successful. It means that other customers may make you successful. That's how karma works. It's very interesting and it's very unique, and it's very difficult to see the cause and effect relationship, which is why many people don't have an accurate worldview. But when you make your customers successful, most people will agree they will make you successful back, which means what goes around comes around. Suppliers. Now, these are people that most people ignore. If you make your suppliers successful, when's the last time we called up Infusionsoft and said thank you? When's the last time we cared about Infusionsoft? We only are irritated at Infusionsoft. When's the last time we called up Eye Contact and we cared about them? When's the last time we picked up the phone and said, hey, Mike Weiss, thank you so much for caring about us? Or what about Melanie, who is with Gary Henderson's group? When's the last time someone said thank you to her? Well, I called her this morning, and I found out that we got our second sale, which means we've broken even, which is a huge barrier to, plunge through, where the money that we've spent on advertising, we've gotten back through 2 sales of Hangout Millionaire. And I called up Melanie, and I just said, I'm just calling up to say thank you. And she said, for what? I said, for letting us know we got the second sale. If you told us we didn't get a second sale, I'd be calling you up anyway. It's not the money part. We have a culture of caring, and I just want you to know that we're doing it self-servingly. Caring is a competitive advantage. And if you look at Buddhist, Hindu, and other traditions, people do good things not because of for you. They do it for their own enlightenment. They are in a race to be enlightened. So they're doing it for self-serving and benevolent reasons. Because if you do good, it'll come back to you. So it is self-serving. Benevolence is what we're looking at. So that's what I did with Melanie this morning. And she said, you're gonna make me cry. Now, how is it that less than 20 seconds of caring can get someone emotional just for saying thank you for getting that to me? It's not a random act of kindness. It's an intentional action of caring. It's a big difference. I intended to call her up because how can I teach caring if I'm not doing it? So with the suppliers, we want to contact them by email, send them notes, care for them, and not make it about business. Just thank them and catch them in doing something good in an action of gratitude. I like to call it intentional action of caring. And by doing that again and again, day after day, 5 days a week, those little seeds that are planted will turn in and ripen into roots, which will ripen into a trunk, which will ripen into limbs and branches and leaves and then fruits that start with seeds. And whether you believe in this or not, it works. If you do believe in it, it'll work faster. So that's the purpose of this training, is for you to believe in it and me influencing you to believe in it, because the next group is the team. Now, I don't know what kind of a boss you think I am. I happen to think I'm a pretty good boss. And I'm a boss that doesn't look over shoulders. I do hold people accountable, but I don't think I'm a mean boss. I don't think I'm an irritating boss. I can be wishy-washy at times. I do tell on myself when I mess up. I think I'm a good boss. I think I'm a fair boss, and I think I'm just. So if any area I think that I do a lot of caring, even with people who are no longer with us, is the team. So this is one area I think I'm good at. Now I can get better at suppliers, and I'm doing good with customers. But with the team, I think I have it down. I think that anyone watching this, the both of you included, we could give intentional actions of caring toward each other, and just treat each other as if we could be a potential refuge to move away from the suffering, in our other parts of our lives that we never talk about. It's just it's an excuse for us to do that. So that's the kind of company I'd like to grow. Not for profit, but profit will automatically come when the purpose is set and the passion is actualized. The passion of calling someone up or emailing them, that's the passion part. The purpose is caring, and the premise is caring is a competitive advantage. That's the premise, that's the assumption, and then the profits just come as a result of that. And then the world, we have to intentionally find people, organizations to care for. So I have a new client in the East Bay, and I'm going to be doing volunteer work there. I love old folks' homes, but I get tired of being forgotten because they don't remember me when I come back. The whole place smells like urine. It's not a fun place to be. It's depressing, quite honestly. And I love, giving the love and caring and planting those seeds, but I prefer it with animals because they're just more loving and they remember me and they wag their tail, when they see me. So I'm going to take my kids there. And the new client is actually paying us $25,000, so they're a customer, and I'm going to give back by volunteering there, and that's my caring. That's not the world. The world is just everybody else. Now, when you look at this, picture, there are three premises here. Karmic marketing starts with little me here. This is it, little you. What goes around comes around. Now, when you do 4 for 4, your customers, your suppliers, your team, your world, then the little me echoes, and little me expands to big me. Not pig me, like a midget, but big me. This is a big universe. Now, if you are a karmic marketer, or we'll call you for personal reasons a karmic manager, if this world, which is very big, collides with another big me world, so let's say my big me collides with Sue's, and Sue's collides with Sandra's, then there are 3 big me's here. But if there's a little me, this little me is about, I don't know, 1/8, 1/10 is big me. And the only way you get the big me is to give to customers, suppliers, team, and world. This is what Michael did to grow Andine Corporation and to be purchased by Warren Buffett by $250 million. He wasn't an equity holder, but his department in the marketing division, which he knew nothing about, he knew nothing about business, nothing. He knew nothing about diamonds, zero. This is starting from scratch where his Lama told him, his Lama who almost died at the hands of the invading group into Tibet, and walked and with bloody feet walked down into the valleys of northern India and lived and ended up in Howell, New Jersey, and taught this man, Michael, and Michael, who in turn has taught millions of others the principles of Buddhism. But this is what I got from him. More than the spiritual teachings, what I got was karmic marketing, and this is what he did to build his company. Now, karmic marketing will expand your social influence by 10 times if you buy into the fact that little me is 1/10 as big me. That's your real you if you are actualized in a karmic way. Karmic marketing is based on the win-win, win-win-win principle. There's one win here, customers, suppliers win, there's the team win, the world win, and then there's you win too. So when you go 4 for 4, it's really 5 for 5, because the big 5 here, which is the name of a sporting goods store in California, but it's also, you know, the big 5 of this is big you. And then karmic marketing is aligned with the laws of nature, meaning this is natural. It's planting seeds. And so you're not looking for the effect. What you're looking for is to intentionally plant seeds. So what does that look like? What that looks like is we have customers that have spent over $2,000 with us in the course of a year. We have suppliers, which should be a big list of suppliers. And each supplier may have 2 or 3 people we contact. So you know, that's good because we can contact them on different days. And then we have team members beyond us. There's other team members that have worked for us, and we have a list. Maybe team members that are no longer with us. Why not add them? Why not an act of caring? Someone, I may not see them as empty. I may see them as irritating and has taken advantage of me, or I may not like them. But someone, their family loves them, their children love them, they may be refuge for other people. Why not them? You know, when I thought about this, I thought, I don't want to work with those people. But I don't care if they come back and say, how dare you reach out to me. It'll just be a random act. It'll be an intentional act of caring. And I don't care how they respond to me, because how they respond to me means I've done that internally, at least thought about it, or physically. And so I'm seeing the mirror. So why not? Why not? What that's called burning the karma. Why not burn that karma? And then the world. You know, the world is everyone else, and we just need to make a list. So the next action to take is, now for yourself, you have your own personal network. But in our company, we'll have our network, and if you just reach out to one person in all 4 categories, that's all I'm asking. I'm going to reach out to 2. But you reach out to one person, then we'll be reaching out to 4 people every single day, 5 days a week. And I think we'll grow this company very, very quickly, because it'll keep us busy. It'll keep us out of any sort of depression or being down. It feels good when we get feedback. Now, I've been doing this off and on for years, but if it's done in a group, which I've never done before, when it's done collectively, I think there's more power in it. So that's what I'm going to suggest, that we try it for 90 days and see what happens, 5 days a week, and just assign ourselves, you know, who are we going after. And we could be going after the same people at different times. So each week we write down on the Monday huddle, here are the 5 I'm going after for my for the customers. Here are the 5 for suppliers. Here are the 5 for the team. And the team was going to get a lot of love. And we can even look at potential team members too, just to increase that. And then here are the 5 I'm going after for the world. We do that. We make that list, and we have a lot of that list for the company. You do one of those things a day. It's a simple email, a phone call. I like to do a written note sometimes, which I do, and you're getting feedback from that. All we're doing is planting seeds. And here's what I know. The more seeds we plant, the more likely it is they'll take root. And if they take root, that seed is destroyed. That's the beauty of it. The seed gets destroyed. It turns into a root. That turns into a trunk, then limbs, then branches, then leaves, then fruits. And when people see what we've done, they look at the fruit, just like they did with Mark Zuckerberg and Warren Buffett and Oprah Winfrey and Steve Jobs and J.K. Rowling of the Harry Potter books. They look at the fruit, but what they don't see is the root. And more importantly, they don't even see the seeds. I'm saying at the seed level, pre-root, if we plant these seeds karmically, I think it'll pay off. So that's karmic marketing the way I know it at this time, and this is my first presentation, so I'm open to any questions or clarifications you want, because that was version 1, which is now better than version none. That took 40 minutes. All right, so who has the first question? You can unmute yourself. Go ahead. And I'm going to do cameraman off now so that you're seen. Go ahead.
The guests that we have on Friday Hangouts, they would be on the world, right? Unless they move on to the JV or affiliate category where they're promoting for us in a different day. But if they're just doing the Friday Hangout, they would be on the world.
They would be one of 4 categories. They would be customer, supplier, team member, or world. So, for example, Paul, like Paul Talbot, Paul is a supplier.
Yeah.
We paid him. Now, when he was on the Friday Hangout, he was the world. And
correct. So like Christina right now is the world.
Technically, she's the world. If we hire her to do PR, or if we ask her for her course, she'll still be the world. If we pay her to be on our team, or if we pay her as a supplier, or if she pays us as a customer, then she'll flop into those categories.
Correct.
Does that satisfy your question?
Yes, thank you.
Because you are methodical, we need to get those questions answered. And then what's most important to me is once you start categorizing people, then there's a lot more clarity in that. I really like the caring piece because, you know, I've been in a funk this last week, and I know Sandra knows it. And every morning when I try to get out of that funk, I'm saying, why? Why am I in this funk? And the moment I start caring, I get out of the funk. I do a consultation, I'm out. So whether it's physical, it's chemical, or psychological, you know, I don't really care or know what it is. But when I'm in caring, I think it's a really good brand. You know, I think it's a great culture to have, and I think the 3 of us can make a big deal out of it, so that, you know, if the person is not caring, they don't belong in the company. Like Justin's not with us next month, but he's still caring. He's a very caring person. Look at the way, you know, he's finishing. And so, you know, he deserves to be part of the culture, and so I think that is one way to look at, you know, how we filter things. I'm going to do this whether you 2 do it or not. So me giving this presentation to you is not saying, okay, you better do this and this is what I'd like you to do. This is extracurricular. This is just job security. You know, this is like, okay, if you assist me in this process, then we're twice as, you know, successful, because I'm going to do 2 a day. It's easy to do. It's really, really easy. I just get them out of the way. They're like emails. I just catch something positive to say. And I say, is this an intentional action of caring? And if the answer is yes, I send it. If it's kissing ass, or if it's artificial, or if it's disingenuous, if it's not real, I don't send it. You know? And so I may be coming to you and saying, hey, what do you think about this? Like, if I send, not so much to Sean, but let's say if I send an email to Ron, then Ron is someone who stole from us, Sue, a lot of money, 6 figures.
Ouch.
And if I go to Ron and I say, Ron, you know, we've had our differences, but I want you to know that, you know, the final payment will be in December, and I'm very impressed, and I feel honored that I've been on the receiving end of you keeping your word despite our differences. That is a caring exchange. I don't particularly like Ron. As much as I think of him as empty, he still is a thief to me. I wouldn't trust him, you know, but that's an act of caring. If I went to Amy Mulkey and I say, look, we've had our differences in the past, but I noticed it was your birthday, so no matter what it means to you, I was thinking of you today, and happy birthday. I'm not saying I'm missing you, because I don't. I'm not saying things that I don't believe in. That is an act, an intentional act of caring that I'm doing, that is planting a positive seed. And, you know, if I had 1 day to live, literally, I would probably call them all up and say, you sorry I ever felt the way I did. It's not worth it. Who cares what you stole? And that's how the Buddhists think. What if I were to die tonight? What would my day look like? That's where the principle of priority comes in when I teach it. It's the difference between knowing what's important and urgent and doing what's important first. I do what's urgent first at this point. I know what our overhead is. And so it just seems like I've made a lot more money in the past, but I make a lot of money by most standards, but in the past there was a lot more coming in. And so like now the money that comes in goes out because we're growing, and I think that's why I get depressed, because it's like, God, you work so hard, I work hard, and then all of it's gone. Now, yeah, we're paying for everything, so everything's paid for, and the line of credit goes farther and farther down. We pay big chunks of that, so it's not like we're in massive debt, but it's not comforting to have everything that comes in eventually go out very, very quickly. So I get tired of it, and then I think about, well, look at who I'm serving, and I have to be reminded, look at what we're doing for a lot of students who normally wouldn't have the ability to do that. Or if I'm tithing and I'm doing mentorship for someone who was at one time able and is completely broke, is in deep debt, is about to lose his house, and I'm doing free mentoring for him, I'm much better off. So that's why I think that this is not just an exercise of generating more profit. I think it's an exercise in growth, and I think it could be fun as long as we understand it. So I want to make sure the two of you understand the way it works. So should you, if you decide, which I want you to participate in it, you do it consistently and you do it ongoing, and then we'll see what happens after 90 days. We can always go past 90, but I'm going to do it for 90 because it's a tight enough time frame where I can feel that there's an end, and then I can continue when I see what ends up happening. Other questions?
For me, it's just more of a clarification. So we've got the 4 groups: our customers, suppliers, team, and world. And you want us to reach out to one person from each one of those groups every day with an intentional caring action.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Which you premeditate.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening is, if you believe in cause and effect, you may be causing the effect. You may be your own Buddha in this little world where your little me becomes big me, because when you say, okay, what am I going to do tomorrow? Who am I going to speak to, and what am I going to say to that person? Premeditated. Eventually, you'll be causing what they do.
Mm.
That's what ends up happening, because you become so intentional that it becomes a loop, and you start seeing the effect, as close to the cause as possible. I mean, there are business people right now that can have a thought, and that thought can be monetized within 24 hours because they're that connected. My fatal flaw right now is I'm comparing me, my age and where I'm at, to other people who are younger than me and who are students of mine and are doing better, in my view, than I am. That's what's causing me problems right now. And I'm I don't need to mention names. You know who they are. It's just causing problems, and I'm comparing and comparing. So rather than playing the comparison game, I want to play the caring game. It's a better C. You understand the model and how this nest works, Sue? Do you understand the echo? There's an echo that happens, right?
Totally. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And just to be intentionally doing that every day, and how that's going to change what you're always putting out there and how you're feeling too. Like you said, when you start caring for other people, you worry less about your own stuff.
Yeah. And we take a lot of interest in other people's suffering, and the way we do that, I mean collectively as a population, is we watch the news, or we're watching a white Bronco being chased by police cars and helicopters, because how can this guy O.J. Simpson how could he have done what he did? Or we watch YouTube videos of Tiger Woods and listen to audios of talking to his lover when he was married, and how could he do that with such a beautiful wife and amazing children? And lose billions of dollars in endorsements. We take interest in other people's suffering. So this also takes the place of that, because there is a negative karma associated with that. We got our own enlightenment to deal with in that spiritual tradition. So why take interest in other people's suffering? We have plenty of suffering on our own. Let's enlighten others, by appreciating them, expanding them. And so this morning when I talked to Melanie, I didn't have any intention of making her emotional. I knew I did caring the right way, because I just said a few words. I've never had that kind of conversation with her ever. I've never met her. She wasn't at the event where Gary had, but she said, "You're going to make me cry." And I said, "Why?" That wasn't my intention, is because she's probably starving for it and craving it, and she doesn't get it. And I will say, and I know this to be true, there is such a thing as overcare. Okay, and I know what that looks like, and I've done it. So overcare is not good either. That's causing codependency. So there are students who will look out for me and they want money from me or want a handout from me. It happens. I think now it's happening every single week. They'll come out and they'll just say, "I need your help financially," and they'll look at me as a sponsor, which I'm sure happens to lots of wealthy people. For some reason, they're coming to me because they know. I think it's because they know I care, and so I have to figure out a way to bow out elegantly and tell them, "Look, I'll give you more business, and if you work faster, you'll make more money. And I'm not going to give you a free handout. That would be helping you. I assist people." So there has to be a comeback, to those kind of requests, and so that's what I'm working on right now. But I thought, as a version 1, in less than an hour, which we did, I think this would be a very easy model to teach others. And even if we do it sloppily, I think it does have an impact. The key is who you're giving to give to those 4 categories. That's what Michael taught me. And if you want to get the book, get Karmic Management. It's dirt cheap. You can get it as a Kindle. It'll talk about things like, if you stick your key in the ignition and the car doesn't start, what's the root cause? Well, is it the key? Is it the battery? Is it the wiring between the battery and the ignition system? Or is it a manufacturing problem that started at the manufacturing plant? Or maybe it is at the blueprint level, where someone who designed the ignition system for this particular make and model didn't realize that after 60 starts that there's a faulty process that happens. It goes back to the blueprint level. Or maybe it goes back to the design of ignition in the first place, and that needs to be uprooted, taken out from the roots like a weed from the beginning. So what's the root cause? It's difficult to see a root cause. But if you believe in karma and you believe that everything is a mirror, then you know that if you're seeing an irritating person, if you spot it, then you got it. You must have been irritating to someone else. And so nothing is more irritating than come to that admission.
No doubt.
But I believe it to be true. And so the reason I believe there are beings in our lives, my former wife or other people, who can really get to me, is I think that they are Buddhas in disguise trying to teach me something. And if I didn't have those people in my life, I wouldn't be learning anything. So if the person constantly is putting me down, that person's there to teach me. If a person is, I don't learn much from the people who constantly love me until they become irritating, right? So, I learn from the things that are causing me pain and suffering. And so one of the Alexisms is, as pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. That's an Alexism. I don't know where I got that. I don't know if I heard it from someone, but I've been using it so long, I just anointed it as an Alexism. If you believe that pain is inevitable, then you do believe that you need irritating people in your life, or you need some problems in order to learn.
Yeah.
And the word problem, it means to throw forth. If you look at the root word, could it be that a problem is there to throw forth upon you karmically so that you can learn from it? So I just wanted something to do as a ritual to make this karmic marketing nest and echo work. And so we're planting seeds, and it actually causes an echo out there, just like when you drop a pebble in water and there's a aqua echo that happens, physical echo that you see, and those are the drop that turns into the little waves. Well, that thing happens with voice, with audio. It has that with smell, You know, what's the echo of smell? When you pick up a rose petal, I said it today, and then you smell it, you drop the rose petal, and then there's residue on your fingertips, and you still smell it, right? So there's echo in all the senses. So I want to do this, and I'm going to actually announce to you, to both of you, like, you know, who my 4 people are going to be. And I think the goal is going to be, ultimately, if I think about it, I don't know if this is true, but to turn the world into one of the 3 other areas. So somehow bring the world into our world, so that the world is the opening, you know, 12 o'clock, and then bring us into 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, or 6 o'clock, you know, wherever they are. I know the most ignored group are the suppliers, no question.
Mm-hmm.
So there's Brett Ridgway of Success Resources. If you just look at our line items for payment, Sandra, you know, we can find the suppliers. So can you give Sue access to that document as well?
She does now.
Okay. And so let's go over that document. Let's see if we can find it here in Google Drive.
Do you want me to do screen share?
Yeah.
Okay. We have JT in 4 minutes, just so that you know.
Yeah. That'll be the final thing.
No problem. I'll bring it up for you.
I think we can see it in Google Drive too.
Yeah, both of you can, and both of you can edit whenever you think of new names. Like I just had a Christina, and let me do.
In this Google document, I have VSL prospects. Blah, 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 blah. I'm looking at all this stuff. You have it in another drive, I think. All right, so I'll look at your screen share. So let's see who we got.
Okay, so world, I have Ben, and he will probably move in one of the others. Richard Weiler, JT Fox, Bill Barron, Bill Wash, Nick Onsworth, Sam, Sergio, TR, Lillian. She just came with an email. So Kathy Burns, Big, Christina. So we've done things with all of them. We know them, but there hasn't been any kind of, you know, money exchange as a supplier or a customer.
Yeah.
Team, I have yourself, Sue, and I, and Justin, and then I have the coaches.
Yeah. I think the world can grow more for suppliers.
Oh, totally.
Let's see suppliers. Do we have
yeah.
Do we have Mark Harris?
Mark Harris, I have him on there. Yeah, it's right there.
Good. Okay. Ian Marsh, yes. I think Ben is going to be a supplier as soon as we make our first commission. How about Eben Pagan? Is he there?
No.
And Justin Livingston?
Justin is here, yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Rob Burns. How about Mitch Carson?
He is right here.
Yeah, he's a supplier now.
Along with Peter Drew, Gary Henderson, Dick, Dr. Allen.
Peter Asarno is world right now.
David Asano.
David, yeah, is world.
David.
So I think that the point of this is turn them from the world to the supplier team, etc.
Customers, yeah.
And then
So
let's go down to customers.
I have
It's pretty good.
258, and that's people who have spent like $2,000 with us over the last year. Suppliers, I went through like PayPal and you know, the bank accounts to see anyone that we've paid money to.
So let's put PowerPay there, and whoever the contact is there. If we have a PayPal contact, the iContact person, the Infusionsoft, so all that we can do. So that's the idea. So as long as Sue has access to it, what I'll be doing is going to that and then, you know, adding to it. Who was Jeff Fagan?
I've got him on their customer, I think. Hold on.
He's not a
Yeah,
customer.
I've got him on the customer because he's paying you or you're consulting.
That's true. He's a customer. Okay.
Uh,
Bill Barron?
Bill Barron, I've got him on the world for now.
Yeah, good. Verinda?
Verinda, good idea. So she would be a...
So what we want to do is we want to alphabetize it, right? And so that we find them, and then make each cell.
Easy to find that just with Control F.
Huh?
Easy to find with Control F. So you just put the name.
Okay.
Like if you want to have Harry's, then you might just put Mark and it comes up in green.
Okay. Good. Can you?
Sorry, Verinda. We've paid her and she's paid us, so I would put her under supplier.
She's a supplier, yeah.
Yeah.
She's a supplier because she's not a customer. You know, she's not learning from us. And then for those other names, can you put them in one cell instead of two?
Yeah, I'm working on it because the formula that I found, it will do one by one. So I would have to go line by line to merge them, which I am going to do. So I'm still working on finding a way to be able to do the entire 250.
Okay. Well, I think it looks good. All right. I'm gonna end the broadcast so we have it.